Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Aurora online classes. Dear students, today I'll proceed with the same lesson. A house is not a home. Of course, it is true. A house is not a home. What does it mean? You know, a house is mere a building of bricks, steel, and concrete. But a house turns into home when there is love, when there is care, when there is affection, when there is support among the members of the family. And when the members of the family cooperate with each other, when the members of the family support each other, when the members of the family are happy and they share their joys and sorrows with each other, they help each other. So then it becomes home. Otherwise, house is mere a building. So, what does this story reflect? The story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problems of growing up. How does the author overcome his problems? When we talk about the author, the narrator, we know that he is quite sensitive and sentimental teenager. He is a kind hearted teenager, sentimental teenager, emotional teenager. He needs love and affection. His mother is a widow. He receives love and affection from the people at the new school after the fire incident. He feels sad and lonely at the new school because he has no friends there. So let's go ahead. My first year of high school felt awkward after leaving junior high at the head of my class with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me. It felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice as bigger as my old school. And to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt isolated. When the narrator changed his first school, he came to the new high school, and the new high school was bigger than, twice bigger than the old school. At new high school, he had no friends. He failed to make friends at the new high school. So, at new high school, he felt sad and lonely. Earlier, he was studying in some other school. So, all his old friends have joined another school. So, he has no friends at high school. That is why he felt sad and lonely. Now, he was emotionally attached with his old school. That is why I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. Actually, now the narrator was the student of a new high school. He left the previous high school. He joined the new high school. At new high school, he had no friends, and all his friends of his old school have joined some other school. That is why he felt sad and lonely, and that is why he also missed his old teachers. So he used to visit his old teachers. He used to visit his old teachers and his old school where he had friends. His old teachers told him to, suggested him, advised him to involve in, to take part in school activities. And they also asked him to come whenever he wanted or whenever he liked to come. Now, so it is clear that at New High School he had no friends, he felt sad and lonely. He needed love and affection. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. It was a cold and windy fall day, and we had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. Now, one Sunday afternoon, what happened? One Sunday afternoon, actually, uh, he had started, he was sitting and doing his homework, his school homework. And he was sitting at his dining room table, and he was doing his homework. The narrator was doing his homework. And it was a cold and windy day, and his cat was also sitting beside her. So he had a favorite cat, he had a pet cat. Both the cat and the narrator were fond of each other. They were fond of each other that the narrator could never go away from her. And even the cat would sit beside him. She would, she would come and sit asleep in his lap. So the cat was there. And then what happened? Once this narrator had saved this cat when this cat was a kitten, when it was very small. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. Suddenly, I smelled something strange, and then I noticed it, a smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out in the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames, and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department, while I watched my mother run back into the house. So his mother was stoking the fire. His mother was feeding and tending the fire properly at the fireplace. Suddenly, what happens? The narrator saw a smoke coming from the ceiling, and within minutes, the smoke engulfed the whole house. So the house was on fire. When the house was on fire, actually, the condition became very critical. Everybody, the mother, the narrator's mother, and the narrator himself, they ran out of the house to save their life. And when the narrator ran out of the house to save their life, because the roof was in flames of the fire, so the whole house was on fire and the smoke was coming out from the ceiling. Then the narrator ran to the neighbors to call the firemen, and the mother ran back into the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and in crazed state ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no." Now, what happened at that moment? The house was on fire, the smoke was coming from the ceiling. The narrator came out of the house and called the neighbors and ran to the neighbors to call the firemen. Then he saw that his mother ran out of the house carrying a small metal box, and this small metal box was full of important documents. And then what happened? Actually, the narrator's father was no more. The narrator's mother had lost her husband years ago. So his mother was a widow now. So his mother must have faced lots of problems in rearing and educating her only child. At the same time, she was very much particular about his education too. Now, but actually, since the narrator's mother lost her husband years ago, she was still attached to the fond memories of her husband. And what were the fond memories of her husband? Those pictures and letters. So she came out with a box of important documents, and then second time she went inside the house to bring the letters and pictures of her father. Means the narrator's mother once again went inside the house, got inside the house to bring the letters and the pictures of her father. It means what happened? Pictures of a husband. Actually, she was still attached to the fond memories of her husband, and only the letters and the pictures of her husband were there. And she did not let his pictures, his photographs, and letters go up in the flames of fire. She wanted to save those pictures of her husband and the letters, those pictures and letters of her husband. She did not want those letters and pictures go up in the flames of fire to get burnt. So we have come to know that the house was completely damaged and destroyed. It was completely burnt down, and such a critical condition was there before the narrator and his mother. Now, so they were the only things that she had to remember. And the narrator called, "Mom, mom, no mom, don't get inside the room. You will get burnt. You will get burnt." But the mother did not care for it. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother is in there." Now the firemen had come. The firemen had arrived. And the narrator's mother was is still inside the room, and the narrator was yelling, the narrator was shouting, he was crying for help. So when the fireman come, uh, the narrator told that fireman, "Please don't take me away from here. My mother is still in the room. Save my mother." He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and that if he were to let go, I'd run. He was right. The fireman assured the narrator not to worry. Nothing wrong will happen. The fireman assured the narrator that his mother would be saved, that he would save his mother. So don't worry. "It's all right, they'll get her," he said. The fireman said, "It's all right, they'll save her." He wrapped a blanket around me. Now, what did the fireman do with the narrator? The fireman wrapped a blanket around the narrator and sat him down in the car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. Actually, what happened? Now, another fireman got inside the room. Mother was there. Now, that fireman brought the narrator's mother back from the room. Actually, she was burnt, but she was out of danger. And then she actually she was the narrator. I mean, the fireman took the narrator's mother over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. And then, actually, that was a very critical condition. The fireman told her that your mother is out of danger. She is going to be okay, said the fireman. She just inhaled a little smoke and then he ran back to fight the fire while mother and I sat there dazed. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. Now the fireman had saved the life of mother and said and told the narrator that your mother is out of danger, so there is nothing to worry about. Dear students, thank you very much and I'll teach you the next of the things in my next class. Till then, be happy. That's all for today.